Well, the federal parliament has passed a world-first legislation to ban Australians under the age of 16 from some social media platforms. To discuss the ban, I'm joined by Professor of Information Sciences and Director of RMIT's Social Change Platform, Lisa Given. Lisa, thanks so much for your time this afternoon. There's been a lot of speculation around just how exactly this ban is going to work with potentially the facial recognition or digital IDs. How do you foresee this being regulated?
Yes, absolutely. I think that's really the number one question at this point, because of course this is now over to the tech companies to make these decisions. I think we can all be assured that it won't be sufficient for them to simply provide a text box to us to say, tick and assure us that you're over the age of 16. They're likely going to either go down a route of formal verification in terms of providing a driver's license, for example, or a passport, some sort of government ID, in combination with something like facial recognition software. That technology is still very much in its infancy, so we're waiting to hear more on the trials that are being conducted at the moment, but it's likely that they will embrace one and both of those technologies.
Currently on some social media platforms, you don't actually have to have an account to view the content on it. Will that be required to change as well, or will kids still be able to go and see the content without actually having an account?
That is one of the kind of loopholes, if you will, around the legislation, that it does not cover online content. It covers a variety of social media platforms and only restricts children under 16 from having an account on those platforms. So if someone wants to look at YouTube videos, for example, or Facebook content, all they need to go is to go on a web browser, take a look at that content, and that would not be captured under this legislation.
Given all of the loopholes, and no doubt kids will find a way if there is a way, do you think that this can work at all?
At the end of the day, there's no way to actually ban everyone under the age of 16. I think we know that that's technically impossible. Kids will use a VPN. They could also just jump onto a shared device in the home if it's not logged out of an account. So at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to have the reach that the government promised, and kids will still be able to access potentially harmful content online, unfortunately.
And essentially, the driving force behind this ban has been largely to protect the mental health of young Australians. In a couple of years' time, looking back at this, how would we be able to quantify these results or see if it is effective at all?
I think this is a real challenge. Currently, the research does not show that there's a definitive link between social media use and mental health concerns for children. We definitely need more research in these areas. We do know that social media can exacerbate problems. So if someone is already suffering from depression, for example, the algorithms can push them in certain directions as they kind of spiral and doom scroll. But we definitely need to now do some baseline work to really understand the full implications of this ban and whether or not it's going to be a success.
And accompanying this ban, do we also need to put forward further education on teaching kids how to properly use social media once they are of the age to be able to use it?
Absolutely. And I would say not just education for children, but education for parents and other caregivers as well. We've certainly seen over the last few weeks many parents saying that they're struggling to sort out what to do with their kids online and how to keep them safe. There have been surveys done that showed that parents actually also want that digital literacy training. The government hasn't put forward any plans to kind of inject some funding or other resources into these areas, but that's really critically needed now.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been a lot of support for the ban, but at the same time, there's also many people that feel like it's been rushed and not properly assessed. Is there more that could have been done in the lead up to this ban to assess the situation further?
Absolutely. I think many people are concerned that we don't have the results of the trial being conducted by the company out of the UK around the age assurance technologies and whether or not those are even robust enough. We don't really know with the tech companies how they're going to respond and what they're going to put in place. There were a number of privacy concerns. So even if you want to use something like facial recognition software, for example, that can mean biometrics will end up in the hands of third parties. I think the key question here is really how do we actually protect our kids from harm online? The digital duty of care legislation that was put up a couple of weeks ago is actually a really robust approach that could actually help, but we haven't actually heard whether that's going to still come forward for legislation approval or not.
It's a topic of discussion that will certainly continue for quite some time. Professor Lisa Given, thanks so much for your time this afternoon.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.